What do you think of transhumanism?
And define it. What are you thinking of?
Bionicle arms,
Oh,
potentially with some kind of a guns or something.
I'm a big proponent of biohacking in certain ways. I love the ideas of what will give me a little more juice for the day. I try to keep it ethical. I try not to do too much caffeine, but I will do some of the brain powder and everything else that I can do.
The methylene blue.
No, not that much. But I'll do. I've heard that, but mostly just like it's over the counter stuff. Some people that I knew in startups who were doing, some thinking juice, if you will. I'll do binaural beats. That's one of my favorite things too. You know those. So
No.
basically it if your brain when it's resting, or your brain when it's active, your brain when it's super focused is actually resonating at a certain frequency. And so binaural beats basically will play one resonant frequency in one ear and one in the other ear that might be higher or lower, and your brain will go to the difference. So if you wanted some, this is like sleep music, right? The way sleep music works is it tries to send those type of frequencies so that your brain will get to the resting point of the frequency. But if you want it hyper focused, it'll do a different route. So I love that sort of anything I can do along those lines is great.
And it does its job.
Oh yeah, like if I'm in the morning, I'll put on my binaural beats app, and I'll just say focus, super focus, and you can hear it going. It just kind of whirs into the computer there, but into your headphones.
For how long?
Huh?
For how long?
15 minutes it goes there, and I'll do it while I'm working. But you will notice the impact it has immensely. Breathing, I'm big on breathing. I'm big on supplements and different things I can do there too. I need to do better on working out. But again, I got 9 kids. When am I going to do that?
But what about the let's say chips, vision sight, like an eagle, with the help of the chip, bionic arms?
Let's do it. I'm all for it. I don't know why, but I'm really pro Neuralink, pro anything along those lines. I love that type of biohacking. I don't know why. I'm sure that there's some real ethical considerations, but I'm a kid of the '80s. Who doesn't want to be RoboCop, right?
That was a great movie, the first one. That was
Right?
I would say I would call it even almost a masterpiece.
That's right.
The drama,
Yes.
especially the scene when it's shown how his family is being killed. It's like
Right.
it touches your heart.
Yeah, no, they did a good job with that film. I love those type of sci-fi films, right? So I don't know. I maybe I'm just a child of the '80s and I love the tech on that realm, but well, we'll see. If it came down to replacing my arm, no. But my dad's got poor eyesight. I don't know if that's genetic or not. So I'm like, oh, let's try something. So
What has to happen so you can become fearful of AI?
I would say I'd have to see an adoption of it that had an event impact. Right now, the only things that really scare me are just the sort of tests that are out there. But again, like those are just sort of programmed in. They basically say, "Here AI, scare me," right? And it comes back and it scares them. And so I have to see an impact where it has type of a matrix or some type of sci-fi apocalyptic scenario there. Maybe that's too late then, but I don't necessarily fear it because I think in the end it is still very human controlled in certain instances. Now you let it go, we'll see what happens, but I think the scenarios are overwrought. I think it's very much overwrought, just like Y2K was.
Okay, so the last question on the podcast is always the same. Let's have 2 assumptions with you. Assumption number 1 is President of the United States of America is the most powerful human being on planet Earth. Assumption number 2 is you become one. You become the president of the US, and you now have the access to all the documents, all the truth, right? You have, let's say, Secret Service, FBI, CIA. They come to you and say, congratulations, Mr. President. We love you. We know all the answers in the world. You ask us, we give you an honest answer. What would be your first question?
Oh, margarine, good for you or bad for you?
Really?
No, I don't know. I always make that joke because the idea is it's a perfect example of our issue of trust and media and science. 50 years ago, margarine came out. It was the best thing since sliced bread, if you get the pun. Then 10 years later, it's the worst.
It's the
10
worst.
years later, it flips again, right? These things keep flipping over and over.
Just like with the eggs.
Having 9 kids over the last 4 decades. So my first kid was born in 1994. My last one was born in 2023. So I know something about the way that doctors are very different. When my first kid was born, they said, you're going to have to put alcohol on that umbilical cord 4 times a day until it falls off, right? My second kid was born. It was like, you're going to have to lather this kid with sunblock every single day. We don't want them to get burned, right? Now that stuff, they go, oh, you don't need to do that anymore. You don't need to do that anymore. Oh, and your kids need the vitamin D. I just tell you, we're all human, and don't believe your doctors. Just do your own stuff, but then, trust them as best as you can. So if I am president of the United States and I have all the ultimate authority and all the details at my fingertips, I would say, show me the gold.
Fort Knox?
Yeah, I think that was a really interesting scenario that they presented. I want to know what are the resources that the government truly has.
And they weren't. They went silent.
They did.
Let's check it.
They didn't
It's
go
like,
there. They didn't check it. Yeah, I want to know not just that, but I mean not just Fort Knox. I want to know what are the actual assets that the government has. That's the first question I have to fix things, which is what's good here. What's good here? Like, these are the things that I really want to know. It's so opaque to me what the government actually owns and what it has. Once you have that, you can build off of the rest and try to fix the world.
Okay, so let's say they bring you to the Fort Knox and you see that there is nothing. You, as a president of the U.S., would you expose it to the public?
I think you'd have to. You'd have
Really?
to. Oh, yeah. I think you basically, you have to pull the Band-Aid off. You have to. That's the whole thing. I think one of the things that I learned in politics is that the cover-up is always worse than the crime, right? And so, and I've been in politics professionally as a consultant for 25 years. And so you've got to rip the Band-Aid and you got to get it done with. There are so many things that our politicians tiptoe around. It's one of the things that makes Trump, right? A lot of politicians walk on eggshells. Mitt Romney was an excellent individual person. He was not the best candidate, or it was not the best candidate we could have for that moment. But he was the only one we had, and he was fine. But he also, in the campaign, walked on eggshells. In fact, Republicans have always walked on eggshells. President Trump, and this is to his credit, he makes a point to crush those eggshells into the carpet and make the biggest noise he can. It's just authentic in that way. But at the same time, I think there are points where he needs to rip the Band-Aid off.